Candidates, my dear friends. Welcome back. And I'm going to do a very quick double check here to see if we are actually live on the platforms, that is YouTube and TikTok. So let me see if we have access to messaging. We do have the unified um, chat from Restream YouTube, that is, but not the TikTok, which requires a separate tab in order for me to seeing your messages. So I'll have to remind myself to briefly go and have a quick read of the stuff you might be writing. So just try to cover for like 60 minutes, more or less, this FIDE 2026 candidates. Round number one, we're going to peruse through the games played by Andrei Sipenko and Javokir Sindarov and Wei E and Matthias Bluebaum, Anish Giri Prague, and of course Hikaru and Fabi, which we're having right now in front of our eyes. No usage of engines or AIs. We'll try to just think for ourselves for the duration of the stream. Looks that C5 was the last move played, but you can't do the en passant. I mean, you can do the en passant, but Black's going to take back because they got two defenders onto that particular square. That is C6. So once you take back, I guess they're going to be taking with the bishop, for instance, and they're going to be neutralizing your bishop as well. So, for instance, that's an idea. So probably ampersand doesn't help white very much because this guy is going to be traded for sure. And the black knight also keeps an eye on the knight on b5, so you can't go that easily onto b5, not at the minute. So you have to figure out something else. That one doesn't look very good due to these attacks. And yeah, here we are here. Let me check again the OBS page. So it looks like we have the chat. We've got the board as it happens. Mic is in good order. Oh yeah, I haven't checked actually online. Wait a minute. So I'm going to go very quickly, very briefly, and double check if YouTube is going nice and smoothly here. YouTube channel, right? Let's see. I'm using two destinations at the minute. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if we live here, I assume it should be fine. I'm using the YouTube and TikTok for the time being, so we're going to stay with them. So feel free to type in your messages in relation with what do you think either white or black is supposed to be playing, your sequence of moves that you'd be inclined to play rather than others. Cheers to that. Got myself a bottle of some energy drinks. So I'm going to consume this bottle for like 60 minutes more or less. So I don't see big weakness here for white or black. Probably a draw, but maybe too early to call it a draw. But if things are going to get traded, going to get drawish, right? Shall we go, guys? If you agree, on to Javokir, I mean, Andrei Sipenko white. No, apologies. Javokir white and Sipenko black. Looks like we've got a pictures disposed in this fashion so you guys can see it, right? Right, so this is Espenko and Javokir. Yeah, you can see actually the pictures and all. So that should be fine. Okay. Oh yeah, I've seen it just now. Adibola, just yeah, thanks for the message, brother. I've seen now your text there. Again, I'm just using like two tabs at the same time and keep an eye on the leech. Actually, like two or three tabs. So I've got the leeches that I'm looking at. I'm using one single screen. And then every now and then I'm checking the uh, OBS page, but I'm going to visit now Rara, so I don't need to go all the time. and I have to keep in mind to go to TikTok. So yeah, that's an inconvenient stuff due to the fact that TikTok refuses since like forever to giving the restream that API code or chat or something. So the restream chat cannot include the TikTok chat, sadly, and quite inconvenient for streamers. Unless you just stream only on the TikTok, which I'm not going to do it, just on TikTok. To me, they're pretty much all the same. So, okay. Anyway. Aha, Rookie 3, what's that? Javokir and Espenko here. Rookie 3. Is Sendarov planning onto some rook to G or something? Just asking for a friend. So maybe in principle, rook over to the G file, or maybe. Yeah, he wants to move on the third rank, somewhere attacking the Black King's G7, I guess. Maybe H7, who knows? You want to get the rook on the G or H, I guess. That's the thing. So, in theory, I'm just thinking maybe some knight over here. And if they were to capture, you could potentially take and all sorts of stuff. I mean, how do you get the rook over to G3 anyway? Just saying. How do you take it over to G3? We'll see about that. So you have to move the knight first, and then you're going to get rook over. I like this bishop as well. Look into H7. So I guess this is the tendency for white. It's got to be in relation with rook G3, rook H3, and stuff like this. This bishop stays there for now, but I guess Espenko going to trade it off sooner or later. They're not going to allow this bishop to stay here for too long, pressurizing G7 and stuff. So that's the purpose of the knight on C6, which I reckon going to be taken on to E5 at some point when it becomes maybe too dangerous. There is another idea I'm thinking, guys. Maybe amongst others, we might see some queen e2, queen e1, some double attack on that bishop on e6, and maybe you can plan on some bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and then you win the bishop on e6, right? Due to the battery. So there's a couple of threats here taking place. So that's how I look at this position. And quite versatile, quite dynamic. I think this is a very dynamic position, and looks like white decides the attacking tempo here. So yeah, the C file, semi-open file, you never know. Maybe going to get open. I'm not sure who going to take where. Doesn't look good for black to take on B3. I don't think it looks good to take on B3 here. This bishop again can take on B3, then dropping back, then some rook. Rook's coming. So all in all, I think I would prefer Javokir's position rather than Esipenko's, Andrei's position here. What do you think, Adebola? Would you rather be Javokir's stuff, or would you have Esipenko's pieces? It looks like black is just trying to reply to the challenges posed by white. So that's what it looks like. So let's see. Wei Yi, Grandmaster from China versus Matthias Bluebaum, playing for Germany, of course. Blackstone, what is going on? Hey, this guy is on freeze, right? So you got to take that. What's it doing? Oh, it's Blackstone. You have to save the rook somewhere. What does save rook means? Well, where do you get the rook? To h4, right? I mean, where do you get the rook? It doesn't feel comfortable to go over to e6. I mean, you've got e6. What else have you got in there? So you got two squares, looks to me. You've got either e6 or you got h4. Where else can you go? Thank you very much for following, fellas, whether TikTok or YouTube. So appreciate, fellas. Thanks for this. My new friends and followers. So you got just two available squares for Black Rook. That is that. Unless there is a tactic I'm not seeing. You guys see a special tactic here? There ain't no special tactic. You save the rook or you lose the game. So, because e6 looks really weird, very weird, simply because white attacks it like 3 times. And if you go rook e6, you could even think that maybe blue bound going to push e4 one more time. So you might have a bit of an issue with rook e6, whereas rook h4 probably a bit better. And let me think about some other stuff. Looking at white's perspective of things, of course, the pawn on d5 would potentially be captured, but I like to think about something else, like king to h, then rook over to the g. That it might be an idea. Fellas, the heck is going on? Did I miss anything? What's that? What is going on, man? Is there a checkmate threat that I'm not seeing here? Oh, you sugar. Is it like a perpetual, dude? I mean, you're telling me if Matthias takes on e4, obviously you can't take back. You just lose the game. You just lost. So it looks like the only reply coming from Wei E would be queen g4. Check. I didn't even think about this stuff, man. Now, king to h1. Sorry, but I think the guy just want to draw. He just wants to draw. Honestly, there'll be check, then they move here, then check, then... so, guys, it looks like we're going to have sort of like a threefold repetition, right? If white were to capture black rook onto e4. Am I correct, guys? Willie Picklewood, thanks for sharing the live, brother. Appreciate a great deal. Very kind of you, folks. Okay, so looks like it's going to be a threefold repetition here if white takes on e4. Shall we move, guys, with your consent, of course? I mean, it's just me trying to be fake polite. I mean, Prague and Anish Giri here. Prague is white, Anish Giri black. Is Pragnananda queen e6 now? Do you take queen or not? Do you have to take queen? Well, if queen takes, rook takes. That's for sure. Then the rook attacks d6. Then you could play potentially maybe king c7 defending. So what else have you gotten? This bishop is a little bit scary and cuts off the knights and all, but I think still smells of a draw here. It's a bit of a weak pawn, but after king c7, I don't see in how many ways you can attack here. The black pawn on f4 is a little bit isolated. Hell, it is isolated. The rook keeps an eye on it, but also like hits itself. So you defend something which is not currently attacked. So takes and rook takes and king c7, and probably they're going to play king again to d7, attacking the rook. Just give examples. You can't infiltrate the rook over to the 7th rank because there is the 2 black knights covering e7 square, so they're not going to work. Okay, I don't know what else is here. I think that pretty much covers it, and it looks like a draw if I'm correct. Board number 3, ladies and gents. Okay, we're going to go to Hikaru and Fabi yet again, and again, and again, and again. So let's see what's going on here. Hey, where is the restream chat here? Didn't I put it? I think I did. Okay. You tell me after c5, Fabi didn't move nothing? Really? I mean, c5 happened some time ago, right? So he didn't move nothing? Is there something wrong with rook e3? Is there something wrong with rook e3? I don't think there should be anything wrong with rook e3. You keep an eye on. I mean, if bishop takes, you could potentially take with the rook. Or do you take with a pawn? Well, I'm not sure. I think we discussed this position, and we sort of concluded that probably you shouldn't take on c6. Why is the restream chat disappearing on my end? Didn't I put like appearance embed in stream? Wait a minute. This stuff just disappears when I wait a minute. Embed preview. But why does it disappear when I appearance? Give me a second. Always on. Okay, that was it. Always on top. That is that. And now it's gonna stay on my screen as well. Yes, it does indeed. Okay, back to business. Going back. Yes, always on top. That was the setting that I was supposed to do here. So again, c6 doesn't feel okay for white because you're gonna trade off a lot of stuff here, so nothing very special gonna take place. Bishop b2. Bishop b2, I think I can decipher this choice of Fabi based on the fact that he might have thought that bishop to a3 doesn't have a very great future along this diagonal. So he thought maybe, hell, maybe the bishop here would be more promising in the future. If bishop takes, you're going to take back with a bishop, now with a pawn. Certainly. Certainly. Now, black doesn't need to take your knight. But just saying, if Nakamura takes c3, bishop takes c3, and that looks generous for the future. You never know. It looks definitely better. Rather than a3, that is. Okay. And if this bishop disappears, hell, maybe you're going to play f4. I don't know when, how, and what. Also, queen h5, it feels like okay. Maybe not f4, maybe not now. Maybe later. Of course not now. Anyway, it's black's turn to play. But I don't like f4. No, you don't push the f unless you have a very, very strong reason to do so. So queen to h5, maybe getting queen closer to the target. Yeah, so let's see how things gonna happen. If you guys agree, disagree, or you have a better idea, please feel free to type it in, and we're gonna look at that one together. Okay, back to Javokir Sindarov and Andrei Asipenko. H pawn. Dude, that is like I think we can I think we can agree now that the H pawn played by Sendarov with the very clear intent, well, more or less clear. I mean, you probably want to go h5, h6. I mean, what's the whole thing to play the h pawn? Unless you want to do some other funky things, what, g3, king g2? To increase the chances to getting a what? Play a rook, queen lifted, then yeah, I mean, I think you can. G3, king g2, and then get some rook h1 at some point and just keep pushing that guy anyway. Yeah, I think Sindarov plays quite a little bit of an aggressive plan here. I think I like it. I think I like how white behaves here. Question is, do you play g3 now? Do you push the h one more time? Or is it just too funny following bishop to f7? It just doesn't feel okay anymore. Nah, so you won't do h5, but I guess, can you do g3? Is there anything else you want to play? Would you think about king h2 and then push g4? Or is just way too crazy? I mean, play g4 in order to hope that maybe the f5 black pawn would capture, and then all of a sudden, maybe your bishop on c2 will be threatening some attacking along that diagonal. I'm not sure, but just saying. And by the way, where do you go with a knight? Probably you're going to go knight d2, right? So just thinking out loud, guys. King to h2. some g4s, some queen d, some rook over to g. Just try to increase the attack on the g file. And that might be a way. Tough. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. I would say king h2 is good to do anyway. King to h2, and then you're going to think if you really want to play g3, g4. Stuff like this. I'm not sure. It's not very clear. Not very clear. It's interesting, but I think we very much enjoy watching these guys playing this quality elite chess games here. We're watching together. Okay, let me pour myself another cup of this industrial drink. God knows what they put in it. Just something to keep you moving mentally. Okay. Cheers for may the best win. Okay, where were we? Did black play? No, they didn't do enough. Oh, no, black played h6, actually. So white's turn again. We'll see about that. We're going to come back. Let's go to Matthias Bluebaum and Wei E here. Oh, then nothing happened for a while here. So again, queen to d7. If queen d7 means that if white takes, we're going to have a threefold repetition, checks and checks and checks. There ain't no other way. So that is interesting to look at this. I guess Wei E with black is more than happy to draw. I don't think he got an issue with that. So, yeah, you have to. Is white supposed to take? Well, if you take, it's going to be a draw for sure. If you don't take, is there anything else you want to try? And what exactly you're going to try? Because I guess this guy is going to play this kind of. I mean, black going to play rook h4. So if you play queen h1, just saying. Well, hell, if you play king h1, I think black can still go queen h3. And when you take, they're going to do exactly the same stuff. So I think the question for white would be, can you avoid the draw whilst you end up in a equal, if not better position here with white? So that will be a question here for all of us. Hello, Mr. Y. Hello, Miriam. Thanks for the follow, folks. Prediction. I'm not good at the predictions. I'm not even able to predict the past. And I have no power over the future whatsoever. I have no power over the present at all. There's almost nothing in my power. But predictions. I think Javokir Sindarov is very bloodthirsty, so to speak. And I think Prague is gonna push it hard. And Sindarov. I guess this young guy is really very ambitious. And they are eager to fight. So might we get a Sindarov or Prague? That's what I could say, like, as a question, because that's not a. Yeah. Hello, Sam. Good to see you, my TikTok friend. Yeah, so maybe Sindarov and Prague are very keen on fighting. So, and they're young, they're. Oh, Lord. So now he took. So, guys, this is going to be a draw, right? Queen to g4, king h1. There you go. We're going to see a draw, ladies and gents. King h1, queen f3. There's going to be a threefold repetition, and this is a draw. Looks like Bluebaum wasn't happy with none of the possible replies, so that's a draw, guys. They're going to be drawing in a second. Yeah, that's a threefold repetition right here. So we're going to drop this board number 2 because there's nothing else taking place here. Exactly as we anticipated. Queen g4, queen f3, and that is the draw we talked about. Let's go to Prague, who is white here, versus Anish blacks. Hey, there was a sequence that I did anticipate, and I said if queen takes, rook takes, king to c7 gonna happen, defending the pawn, and looks to me king may like to go one more time for the very simple purpose attacking the rook and then maybe supporting the other black rook to oppose the white rook and trade off, and let's see what happens. Now, Prague plays knight to g5. That means if you play, rook is defended for now, but the problem for black is actually h7, black pawn. So, are you going to defend that guy? Can you defend it? Are you going to what? Honestly, king to d7, folks. King to d7 being played. What does that mean? If you take the pawn, black's going to take your guy, and when you take here, black takes, and black is winning. So this move that Anish Giri played it, king to d7, looks like it makes it impossible for white to capture h7 because of the stuff we said. So if knight h7, king takes rook, you take check, and black knight takes you. So you just lost the game, which is, of course, not something Prague is going to play. He's not going to play that. We can all agree he's not going to play that. Of course, he's not going to play it. No way he's going to play it. So, what else can white play? Do you know what is something interesting about the last move Anish played, king to d7? If you're not careful after, well, but h6 doesn't bloody work because rook takes g6. And when you take, actually, they're going to be taking. This is actually getting interesting now. I'm curious to see how Prague plays this position. You guys feel free to say an idea what so. Do you do like, wait a minute. Do you do like rook f6? Rook f6, this guy takes, you take, and, you know, when they attack you, you're going to go somewhere, whatever somewhere means. Okay, we'll see about that. But h6, nah, you can't play h6. You can't play h6. So what is white gonna play? I'm not sure. Do you play rook f6? Rook takes, bishop takes. Now, this guy is a bit hanging the h pawn. Now, if white kind of gets rid of the black pawns, which are isolated, I think these guys are connected. The G and H respective white pawns are connected. So that could be a dangerous situation for black. And if you look at king f2, king f3, you're actually going to be attacking the isolated pawns. So it looks to me that white is more comfortable here. Looks like Prague is more comfortable in this position due to the king activity and the fact that black is having two isolated black pawns. It's two isolated black pawns here. Let me use some blue stuff. So the h7 and f4 are isolated. So you could attack him with the king as soon as you get rid of the rook and maybe do some trades. Having isolated pawns in the endgames is not that great and makes it easy for white in this position to chase those pawns to attack him. There's definitely something here. Totally. So I think I'd rather have white. The question is what exactly I would play here with white, and I don't have a very straight, very clear answer. Maybe rook f6 to try to trade off things, and then try to activate the white king via f2 and f3. So that's what I'm thinking. Try to trade off, get the king in action, and try and see if you can maybe take f pawn or h pawn or something like that. So maybe that's a way to play here with the white pieces. You guys tell me your thoughts if you would think similarly. Okay. Okay, let's have a look. Naka, Bobby. Dude, that's a weird choice. Ah, I mean, it's not that weird. Makes a lot of sense now. Rook 8 to B8. It's very simple moving away from the bishop's diagonal. That bishop's diagonal is scary. You can't leave the rook there forever. And it might be that perhaps he's planning on to B5 pawn. Just saying. Because now you're actually having three defenders for that square. So maybe sooner or later, we're going to see some B6 black pawn to B5. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. So rook b8 is serving a couple of purposes. You move the rook away from the bishop's diagonal. That's number one reason. Let's put it. It's just number one reason. Number one reason. Because if you thought about pawn taken and then bishop attacks the rook, and there's maybe too much of a pressure there. So it's the safest way to look at a position. And then b5 could be another thought. That might happen. Okay. Whose turn is it? White's. Well, what do you play with white? I don't know. Rook e3. Um, Queen h5. I like Queen h5. What do you do with the queen there anyway? Ah, you keep an eye on the c2, dude. Wait a minute. You keep the queen on d1. I think Fabi still keeps the queen there because there is a nice c2 incoming. And that's quite annoying. It's quite annoying. So when you move queen to h5, you allow black knight to do a couple of things. And I'm not sure if you're comfortable with knight to c2. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's good, wise, or anything, so I'm not sure. So we'll see about this. Back to Sindarov. Let me see what the boys played here. E6. Really? G3. I did speculate about the G3 move. So G3 move here for white is securing the h4, thus freeing up the knight. If you, I don't know, if they take and you want to take, you don't want to leave h4 to be captured by the bishop. So you play g3 to protect h4. And apart from the idea we just said, you may want to play some king to g2 at some point. So the queen or the rook are free to move on the back rank and all. So black played e6, and now it is white's turn to play. Okay, so black gave initiative to white. He said, okay, if you want to do something, you could do it. Look, I'm going to wait now. So that a6 move, I don't think it's like an aggressive move or attacks anything. It's just a move that looks very good and aesthetic, and it makes a lot of instinctive sense. You keep your pawns nicely connected, but it also says to white, look, if you want to try or if you want to do something, feel free to. You know, they played a6, and now the onus is on white to decide to play one thing or another. Yeah, so what do you play? You play king g2? You kind of can. You're nice and safe on g2. Nothing very committal, nothing super risky or anything. You will not be getting checked by anything on that diagonal. There is nothing to attack your king there. As long as the black pawn is there preventing any bishop or queen to check your king. So your king is nice and safe on g2 for the time being. But maybe you want to play king h2? If you ever want to play g4, maybe you play rook first. So king h2, move the queen God knows where, e2, d2, rook g, and then push. Or maybe it's just too crazy to do that. I'm not sure. Queen to d2, not very appealing, I think, because of this kind of stuff. Then bishop b4 attacks the queen, and you have to move again. So I'm not sure about queen d2. I don't know what you think about it, but I don't like queen d2. So then, okay, we'll see about this. Wait, that they didn't play that. So king g2. I don't know. What do you think, Sam? You think king g2 would be one of those moves? Could be. I don't see a breakthrough. I don't know. Would you play a4? So king g2, you can play it to say the king is a little bit safer, and then you proceed with a4, or do you play a4 like now? Or do you play a queen to e2, and then? This is quite a few questions. Also, on the other hand, I mean, I'd like to think that if white queen makes it on h5, is it good or bad? They can't play f7 because you might be able to take on f5. But first, you have to play the white knight if you want to get the queen to h5. So where do you get the white knight? Like where? d2? So I'm just thinking out loud. a4 is a way, okay, you're going to open up the a file. God knows what's going to happen. Probably a rook's going to move over. I don't know. But I find it very interesting, the knight d2 and then queen h5. I find this one interesting. It really is. I think it's very interesting. But I'm not sure it's the most sound approach, but looks playable? Maybe it is. Maybe it is indeed. Knight d2, queen h5. I mean, yeah, like, okay. Queen g6 for the checkmate threat. If they play f7, you're going to take on f5. This is stuff happening. It's an idea. If you play the a4, probably you're going to do a bunch of trades. I think black's very happy to get rook on a file. We'll see about that. Back to Prague Anishgiri. Interesting games here today. Now, after king d7, Prague played rook to e4. Keeps an eye on the f4 black pawn, currently defended by 2 pieces. Yeah, but there is another thing here. When he played the rook to e4, he vacated e6 for the knight, which would attack the rook, mind you, and attacks a little bit the f4 twice. So there is a thing, rook to e4. Rook to e4 means knight can go to e6. And there is another thing, h7 is takeable. I think actually this is the most important and dangerous for Anishgiri here. So rook to e4 looks like an innocuous, looks like one of those moves that don't mean nothing. Well, you can't say they don't mean nothing. It means a lot. It means a lot. It means the rook is safe for the time being and your knight could take h7. That means a lot. A lot. Yes. Rook to e4. Very good. Rook to e4 also, amongst many other stuff, it doesn't allow knight coming to either b4 d4 because you're going to be losing a pawn. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and rook takes. So rook e4 does many things. Very many things. You guys probably agree. Very many things due to rook e4. Very interesting. Okay, what did the guys do here? Are you serious? A4. A4, like, why? I mean, it's because you want to do a little bit of this. A bit of, yeah, of course. A4 because you want to try this. So if black were to take, you're actually going to take with A, right? And you're connecting the A pawn. You put it on the B and you connect C, B, and C. So that is why Hikaru played A6. I think you guys agree with that. That's a cool idea. A4 in order to play knight B5. If they take, you happy. So A4 in order to prepare knight B5. So black said, heck, I'm not going to allow this to happen. So they played A6. You can't. So now takes. That's the life move that just happened. D takes E6 for the time being. Also worth mentioning, it opens up the square for the knight. That is something. And when the knight jumps onto D5, potentially, you also having this guy looking quite scary along the dark square diagonal A1, H8. So that's another thing that black has to be careful about. It's a cool game. It's good. It's good. It is. So black has to take that pawn. What do you take it back with? Do you take it with a bishop? Do you take it with a knight? Do you take it with a pawn? I don't think so. You can't take with a pawn. It's a backward, weak, isolated pawn. You're not going to do this. Probably with a knight or with a bishop. Not with a pawn. Knight or bishop. Which one? Not sure. If you take it with the bishop, you do a bit of pressure on C4. You do. You do. You sort of do. But then there are still resources here. Starting with bishop D5. And if bishop takes, you take with a knight. So there's quite a few options here. It's quite a few options. Okay. Fabi Hikaru. Shall we go back to Sindarov and Espenko? A6. That happened already. Yeah, he hasn't decided yet if he's going to play A4. So let me highlight the candidate moves here that I'm thinking. A4, King G2. What else? Knight D2. Yeah. So 3 candidate moves here I'm looking at. I'm not sure which one Sindarov going to choose, but maybe he's going to choose one of the 3 ideas I've drawn here on the board. A4, King G2. King G2 is the mildest of them all. It don't pose no big problem. It's just a good move. It's not a problematic move for nobody. It's safe. And that's about it. Knight D2 seems to be okay to me. For a couple of reasons. Amongst them, Queen to H5. Definitely. So Knight D2. So I think in order of aggressiveness, a move like Knight to D2 seems to be the most aggressive with the biggest potential to generate attacking lines. Knight to D2. A4, it's not that aggressive. Again, black would be super happy to get the rook over to E-file. And King G2, again, is the most uneventful move, but safe, sound. Nothing bad's going to happen straight away. Praganish. Rook. But, dude, what the heck? What? So you tell me, can't we take H7? What's going on here? Can't I take h7? Knight takes h7. Is there something bad with this move? What am I missing? Wait a minute. If knight takes h7, is there something bad happening? Rook h5. But then I'm gonna jump f6. No, I'm gonna win the game. Knight h7. What if rook g5? What? Or rook f7? I'm gonna go g5. So tell me, can you tell me, guys, what's wrong with knight h7 now? Is this a blunder? No, hell is not a blunder. If Prague played it, it can't be a blunder. I mean, even to my understanding, it wasn't a blunder. It was quite a cool move. And if Prague decided to play it, hell, that was a good one. Well, you better move that freaking rook somewhere. Don't tell me that actually Anish Giri plans on not just sending the rook away, but actually he's planning on shutting off the bishop completely with d4. Dude, after you drop this rook, I don't know where. I don't know where. I think you want to play this move, d4, and then you're going to have to play the bishop. Probably d4, d2, apologies. And then, how do you move the knight around things? Well, well, well. Now that is something. The heck do we do? Is g4 playable? If they take en passant stuff, you're going to take. But then the rook can like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. If they do en passant, well, you're going to play rook g4 or something, but then they're going to take again with check. Yeah, well, this is funny. I don't know what to say. You either play g4, you move the rook on the back rank, or maybe just to just to the second rank, I wanted to say. You play rook e2? It just doesn't feel okay. The okay move would be, it feels like rook e1 would actually tick the box for white here. Rook e1, right? Rook e1 after d4, bishop d2. Not that you have a choice, because you don't have that much of a choice, but anyway. And then you're going to play g3, g4 or something. So you're going to try to, after g3, you're going to try to, and after they take or something, at least you have a retreating square with knight g5 because the bishop is here. So maybe it works like this. Maybe. Maybe. And amongst other things, black could take advantage and play some knight to e5. They take advantage of the fact the bishop is no longer here. And then they might be emboldened to play f3. So this Anish Giri guy does a lot of creative responses, and I like it. Rook e1, d4, bishop d2. It looks okay. So Prague took on h7, and he did create the pass pawn, that is the h-pawn. Very interestingly, we have to say it, that the h-pawn is a pass pawn of white's. It's got to be something. It's not over, but I think for two humans having limited time, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. It is. And I think we like it. Totally. That is going to be a very interesting middle game and end game. This is interesting. It is very interesting. All right, let's see Fabi Hikaru here. Well, black couldn't be bothered to take straight away. I think you want to make sure he covers all the good stuff here. By the way, I'm noticing now Hikaru is having 48 minutes and Fabi 25. So plenty of time for black to decide and take with the correct piece. My first instinct is that if you take with a bishop, at least you attack c4. It can't be bad, right? It can't be very bad. It's not bad at all. Actually, I think it's good. It's good. You activate a bishop, you attack c4, It looks good, really. Pieces are active, attacking, posing problems for your opponent. So I think this one is good. Certainly. Hmm. Java gear. Nothing happened here after e6. It's going to take a while for Sindarov to decide because I think this is quite an important moment in the game's evolution. This, or knight d2. I think my bet is on the knight d2 because it's the most aggressive move psychologically, humanly. I don't know what the engine would think because I do not use an engine during the live streams, but from a human understanding, looks quite challenging, and I guess that's what is. Prague Anish. Rook e2 because he did want to go e1. He wanted to keep the rook on the second rank. Of course, if d4, you are forced to play bishop d2. What do you think you're going to play bishop e1 now? Really? If d4, is it bishop e1 or is it bishop d2? Just wondering. d4, bishop d2 or bishop e1. I'm not sure which one is it. It looks like bishop d2, right? Because then you want to play g3 and stuff. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see about this. We'll see about this. Makes a lot of sense to do d4 here. There you go. I mean, he was very predictable. He probably wanted to make sure he does the right one. So yeah, d4 shuts off the bishop for the time being. Bishop must move. I don't think you got any other choice. You have to move the bishop. The question is, where do you move it? My opinion is that bishop d2 looks okay. Looks the most aggressive. You keep an eye on the isolated black pawn on f4, and you could potentially dream about some g3, you know. I think g3 has to be played, right? Yeah, there is this stuff, but then you're going to play something like this. If you don't play g3, how do you open up your bishop stuff and all? Well, you could go back to e4. So let's put it this way. Bishop d2. I don't know what black plays, but maybe you could then play rook e4 where they were. So this thing and then rook e4. Still, it feels awkward having the white knight on h7. Maybe try, yeah, still g3 though. We'll see about that. Black probably is going to play some knight c6 to e5. You don't want to keep that knight on c6 forever there because you don't do nothing. And then you may have some f3 happening. Who knows? Who knows? Interesting though, but yeah. Bishop d2 feels the most normal thing here. I'm curious to see if Prague agrees with my thoughts, and if he concludes as I said. I'm curious. Well, we're gonna find the answer very shortly. Very shortly indeed. Fabi Naka. Oh, he didn't take it in nothing. All right, so we'll be back, guys, in a couple of moments now. So you can keep watching. We will be returning for sure. So let me just pause this thing just for a minute. Stay where you are. I'm not going to stop the stream or anything. I'll just put it in abeyance for a sec or two. We'll be back then. So we're putting things back in motion now. Where were we? We were around here. Okay. Let's see if there's any modifications to the current status quo. If there were any. Not at the minute. Still black decides what to play. My opinion was something like bishop takes so that you can attack c4. I think that's what I said I would play if I were with blacks here. And then I don't know what you do about the c4 defense. Maybe you're going to play d3. Or maybe you just have to play. Or maybe not. Maybe you've got actually bishop d5. So let me look again. Bishop takes e6, attack c4, right? Then bishop to d5. I think so. But then it's not over. Maybe bishop takes your knight and attacks b2. Then you take. But then the guy takes. And then you're going to takes. And then queen's going to takes. So it's not that easy. Who's doing better after this stuff? So bishop e6, bishop d5. I'm not sure that looks good. Looks like you're losing a pawn. And probably going to lose the game. If my assessment is correct. So bishop e6 and bishop d5, it looks like white's going down. Okay, let's look at something else. Bishop takes e6, which I think is the most problematic move for Fabi. Bishop takes e6. Can you play knight d5? That's something. For the love of the mess and for the love of the tactics, might be a better approach. So bishop takes e6 and knight to d5. That might be better. Definitely interesting. The other response with bishop d5, I think, leads to loss for white. Okay. Bishop e6. I'm happy that actually Hikaru played what I thought. It was the most active, aggressive move available for black. And there you go. He played it, ladies and gents. Bishop took e6. c4 under attack now. And if I calculated this one correctly, yes, knight, I did say this one too. Knight to d5. Knight to d5. Not bishop takes d5, because then would have followed bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes, and you take, and then queen takes. So definitely knight, and I'm very happy to see that he played what I thought I would play. Queen d6 now. Played by black almost instantaneously. Queen to d6. Defending a little bit. b6. Well, it's already freaking defended, no? Queen to d6. What do you play here with white? Do you go f? I mean, I don't, just thinking. Do you go f? I mean, it's not like you're going to be getting checked on this diagonal, because it's not possible. Maybe you want to play f? Do you? Or what? You can't do queen h5, because you're going to drop all the light squares, and it looks a little bit scary due to knight b3, knight c2 idea. So maybe you want to keep the queen exactly where it is for the time being. For the time being. Yes. Okay. Interesting. This one's going to be interesting. I think I like it. And I'm happy to have anticipated a couple of moves that they actually did play. Shall we go to Sindarov and Espenko? That was another fabulous position. Hey, I like that queen d2. I did say, Hey, I can see actually king g2 for Christ's sake. I'm happy to see that one too. a6, king g2. I said that this is probably the safest, mildest approach available to white, and he did play it. Bishop to f7. That's preventing medium long term. It's preventing any queen h5 that might have happened. So that's not going to be. So that's the reason for bishop f7, not allowing queen h5, amongst others. Queen to d2 now. I did say that thing with the bishop to b4. Now you have to move the queen again. Queen to d5, and you have to move the queen again. So for this reason, maybe queen to e2 would have been just better from the very start. Just saying, because now you have to move the queen, whether you like it or not. So my dear friends, so to speak, now in hindsight, maybe queen e2 all of a sudden, just play queen e2. Queen d2, bishop b4, unless you really want them to play bishop b4. Now you have to move queen. It's 99.99.99. You move queen if now 100% certain he's going to move the queen. You can place a bet if you want. You're going to move queen to e2, probably. Queen to e2. Yeah, I guess so. Unless you have a, what, you want to go back? Queen d1, but it feels weird to go back. So queen e2 though. And then you're going to see if you still want to go after a4 and stuff like this. Interesting game. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna be back to see if they actually move something else. Let's see Praga and Nanish, because that was another interesting one. So d4 shuts off the bishop. I thought, and I did tell you guys, that you have just two options here. You either go bishop d2, which keeps an eye on the f4, or you go bishop e1. He opted for bishop e1, which takes away the h4 from the knight. So let's put it like this. It ain't no knight h4 coming, but I did say knight c5 e5. I did say this. So this one is preparing f4. Certainly. This last move of Anish Giri prepares f3. If you don't do that, I don't see what other strong idea you may find here, because f3 is the strongest of them all, the most irritating, the move you want to play. You have an isolated black pawn. What do you want to do with that guy? You have to try to open up things. So that's the reason. Knight e5 serves the primary intention, f4, f3. And hell, then you either move rook e4 or you play like what? You have to take, no? And then they take, check. And then you have to move the king. Where? Probably not on the f-file, because that's where the rook is. So you're going to go g2. And then the black knights will start moving. You got to calculate a lot. Have to sit down and calculate a ton of things there. But yeah, knight e5, f3 is going to happen sooner or later. What can white play to improve things a little bit? Notice how awkward the white knight on h7 is at the minute, guys. The white knight can't go nowhere for the time being. That white knight is completely stuck for now. They did remove a pawn, though. So we could say, in principle, well, not just in principle, in reality, there is an h pass pawn available for white. At the right time, you're going to push that guy. And let me tell you something. Bishop e1 actually allows white to play h4. Let me just put these things in perspective. Which, if you get to play h4 for white, you can also then relocate knight to g5. So you back into business with that solitary, awkwardly positioned white knight on h7. And all of a sudden, you get back into full activation of your pieces and stuff. Looks good. Bishop e1 for h4, knight g4, knight g5, apologies. Looks absolutely, absolutely good stuff here. You guys tell me if you think differently or yes, totally. You have to do H4, no? You have to. They're going to be interesting to watch. Absolutely. H4 there is. Let's see if Prague agrees with this one. Does he have anything else in mind? I'm not sure. Definitely something. Something is brewing here. Let's go Fabi Hikaru. After Queen D6, nothing else happened. Queen D6 and nothing else happened. We'll see. What did we say we do here for white? We said something like F4. I just try to remember my old ideas. Well, old ideas, I mean the previous ideas I meant. Because you're relatively safe onto this diagonal with the king, so I guess F4 could be played. Try to open up some F. I don't know, maybe you're gonna take this guy off, then maybe you're gonna push again. Maybe. There's many maybes. Very many maybes. Perhaps is 16 minutes, Fabi. And Mood and Double Hikaru. Sendarov Esipenko battling here. Queen e2. Didn't I say that? Of course I did say it. Not like he had too many options though. He could have played Queen e2 since like 2 moves ago without waiting for Black to actually play Bishop e4 in order for him to decide to go e2. I mean, you could have played Queen e2 right now if you wanted to. Like now. After Bishop f7, boom, you go Queen e2. So you do Queen d2 if you want Black to actually get Bishop to b4. I mean, if you really want this guy here rather than e7. But if you want to ask me why exactly, I don't know what to tell you. Why would you want Black to have Bishop b4? Because that's what he did. And now Queen to e2 again. Very predictable. And I don't know what Espenko gonna do next. It's not clear. You're going to take now the bishop on e5? But that comes at a cost. If you take this guy, which is a little bit scary. Nope. He did it. He makes a pin. Well. Look at that. He makes a pin, guys. I'll tell you something. I'd like to move the queen away ASAP. I would move queen to f1 like yesterday. You move that queen away. You have to move the queen away. Just move the queen away. Move the queen away and let things go forwards. Just move that queen away from the pin. Queen f1 and let Black do whatever. If they want to trade, eventually you're going to jump with the knight because there's no more pin. So makes sense. Yeah, queen f1. I don't know what else can you do there, but that's what it feels like. Queen f1. Draganish. Okay, rook e4 back where they were. So he didn't play h4 just yet. So he didn't play this h4, which I thought it's also interesting in terms of supporting knight to coming over to g5 and this and that. So rook to e4. Okay, what's he planning? There's a lot of stuff happening anyway. Rook to e4 doesn't allow now c, but really you can't do this. But it does allow this, but also h4 is still interesting. Why wouldn't you play it? I think h4 is actually an idea. And back to Fabi Hikaru. Dude, these guys are cool, man. What the heck? Bishop takes. You took the knight. Pawn takes. Rook e4. Rook, very interesting. Rook e4. Well, at least attack something. Is bishop gonna take? Maybe. Then you take. Then they take. And then you take. That is actually quite a strong bishop right there. Very strong bishop right there. That is interesting. 336, 336. So again, if bishop takes d5, rook takes e8 first, check. Rook must take. And then you're going to take bishop d5 with an attack on f7. And if you're lucky, you might be able to get some queen f3, queen h5 at some point. You got to be careful about the d2 pawn, which is currently attacked by the bishop, but maybe after all dust settled and all, maybe you're going to push again. So takes, 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 takes. And then, time permitting, you're going to do some d3 and stuff like that, perhaps. Yeah. Is this a draw? It's very difficult to say at this stage. But I think the games are very, very entertaining. I like it. I do. I do. I'm not sure Hikaru gonna take the knight, but we could say for sure that the d4 black pawn is under threat. So how are you gonna defend that guy? I'm not sure. Wait a minute. Okay. So also I'm happy to see a4 had happened here for Sindaro because. But wait a minute, he's still in the pin with the knight. Knight on f3 is still pinned. He decided to play a4 now? I think I would have moved out of the pin first and then decide to do stuff. Anyway. Anish Giri Prague. Let's see what the boys played. Nothing. Rook e4 and Anish still considering things. Fabi, rook e4 and there you go. Bishop takes d5. I did say that. I did say bishop d5. Now, very likely, rook takes e8. 99% going to be rook takes. There you go. Rook takes e8. It's a forcing move, and bishop takes straight away. I'm very happy to see. I got quite a few moves. Managed to make a good, decent assessment, and actually the guys did play stuff that we said. So bishop d5 now. Opposite color bishops. But I'm going to tell you something. This bishop on d5 is way more dangerous than the current dark square black bishop. This guy would be dangerous in the minute white decides to play d3, which means you will not be able to get your rook over to e1. So if you want to do something funny with white in terms of getting this rook a bit more active, you better do it before you play d3. So that's worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning. And then you're going to be hunting the D4 black pawn. So we need to take it one by one. Whose turn is it? Black's turn. What do you do? I don't know what do you do just yet. Is this thing an idea? Just asking. Do you know why? Because you can't take with a C. You're going to lose the bishop. And when you take, they're going to take again. It's something. So looking at the position, if I was white here, I would be concerned about a move like B5. I'll be honest. So this B5 move looks concerning for white. How do you play after B5? What do you play, my friends, after B5 there? You can't take with C, you have to take with A. If you don't take, it's bad. It's just bad if you don't take. So you have to take, but then they take again, and then what? Really, then what? So you don't have like a lot of time here. After B5, man, I really don't know what to tell you. After B5, maybe you have to play Queen C2. B5, Queen C2. It's a bit tough, but what can you do, man? B5 is worrying, actually. B5. You play Queen C2, try defend stuff, so if they take, you take. If they take here, you're going to take back with a queen or with the bishop, that is. It's a thing. Queen C2 after B5. It's, yeah. Yes. Maybe, yeah. Certainly. Well, it can't be certainly if I said maybe before. All right. Okay, there. All righty, folks. So we're going to call it a day for the time being. Thanks for joining the stream along the way, guys. Feel free to check on the latest video updates that I done on my social medias. And hopefully, guys are going to be in touch for the near future and stuff. So take care of yourselves. I'm going to see you guys soon this coming week. Thank you.